So, just as a disclaimer before I even get started with this video, this is not aimed at every single CN player. This is just aimed at the ones that are contributing to this ongoing problem that has been a thing with Honkai Impact 3 for years. There are level-headed CN players. Again, this is not representative of every single CN player. So it was brought to my attention pretty recently that MiHoYo had released a survey, and they were basically asking the CN player base, hey, what would be your thoughts on male playable characters? That was basically like the question, or how tolerant are you of male characters? And what ended up happening is that enough of the CN player base threw a bitch fit about it that MiHoYo basically turned around and rewarded the CN player base with 100 Apollo gems. Now, the thing that's super frustrating to me about this particular situation is MiHoYo is being kept in a box with Honkai Impact 3. I feel like MiHoYo puts so much effort into the story writing. I feel like they put a lot of effort into most of the characters that they release. And while, yes, some characters do end up being very buggy on release, they do normally fix them later on. Platinum Equinox is probably the biggest recent offender of being bugged. The issue that I take with this is that the CN community once again tries to speak for everybody in every single region. Like, I understand that from what was brought to my attention was basically the reason for this outrage was there was some article or interview that was done years ago, and basically MiHoYo gave the premise, or they basically said that in some context that, yeah, no, we'll never have male playable characters. But the thing is that the game has evolved so much since its early release. I mean, you look at Honkai Impact 3 like year one versus now, and it's literally a night and day difference. Literally. This isn't a type of situation to where a company saying something like, oh yeah, we'll never have pay to win in our game and implement pay to win in their game later on. This isn't a situation where a company says something like, oh, we will always have a healthy environment. We will always be respectful to our staff. And then later on, you find out that there is disrespect to the staff. There is a toxic environment. This isn't a situation to where a company is saying something along the lines of, we will never allow exploitation and hacking in our games, but proceed to allow it to be a thing in the future anyways. I think having a few male playable characters in this game is something that could not only give MiHoYo more content avenues to work with, but also extend out on the longevity of the game and make the game more accessible for people. To each their own on this part. I personally do not care about the gender of a character. I just like cool characters, and if they're relatable, double points. But there are people out there that will not touch a game if they don't have a specific gender of character to play. This is why Genshin Impact is such a more accessible game at the end of the day, is because there is a roster of male and female characters. There are people who do like to pull for husbandos, and it's hard to do that in Honkai Impact 3. Essentially, what this basically means is they said, no, we don't want good content. No, we don't want Kevin Costner as a possible playable character. And Kevin Costner, keep in mind, is a very well-established character in Honkai Impact 3. He has been around for years. He has a backstory. He is a developed character. He was pretty cool. If MiHoYo came to me and they were like, hey, would you be okay with playing Kevin Costner as a playable character? Take my wallet, MiHoYo. If I have to eat ramen noodles for a whole month, if I have to eat bread and drink water for a whole month, I'll do it. You give me that Kevin Costner. You give me Ice Boy. Make it cold up in here. I'm about to wreck these fools. And then I could show this character off to other people who like to play characters where there's badass male characters, and they may try out the game. They may be able to get engrossed into the story content of Honkai Impact 3 and its world. But it's hard to do that when the CN player base likes to keep Honkai Impact 3 in this box. And honestly, at the end of the day, if you don't like a character, you don't have to spend money on that said character. If you are somebody who just likes to pull for waifus, that's okay. Any male character that MiHoYo might have potentially made in this type of scenario, you can just skip and go ham on the next waifu that comes out, because I guarantee you MiHoYo will still continue to release those said characters. The CN player base overreaches their authority on a lot of topics. And I still haven't forgot about the time to where they got real ticked off about how Fu Wall was depicted in the global anniversary video, because they felt like her being in a bunny suit was offensive and it felt like it was an attack on them. Even though Fu Wall is Chinese, she's not representative of the entirety of China. And plus, on top of that, this is a fictional character at the end of the day. So just real quick, I just wanted to give some commentary on Vel V. She is going to be a character that's going to be releasing in 5.9. Now, on a historical basis, I don't feel like Quantum has been pushed so hard to where I felt compelled to where I always needed to have multiple Quantum DPSs in my roster. So I've always been able to kind of just get by to some extent without having to rely on Sally. And it's not so much that I look at this character as Vel V is quote unquote bad. I think she can be a pretty solid character. I think what's really the issue here is the storm is approaching. We don't know when it's coming, but people are expecting a new Hersher release. We don't know if that's going to be 6.0. We don't know if it's going to be 6.1. We're going to find out here pretty shortly. And there's also rumors of another big character that's going to be released. A character that's more than likely going to be more popular than Vel V, period. Outside of the super hardcore competitive scene, like people trying to get like say top 0.2% in Memorial Arena, the people who are trying to be Nirvana retainers, and the people who just really like this character, I do feel like most of the community is going to just skip her on her first run. And the thing that doesn't really help this situation out is, for me, this is very reminiscent of 5.4. So in 5.4, we had Silver Ring Bronya come out. She had the exact same kind of banner to where you do so many pulls, you can get certain ranks on her, get her full stigmata set at least. They're going to be doing the same thing with Vel V. Guess what happened when we went from 5.4 to 5.5? We literally got a double release banner with Platinum Equinox, and then we got Spinarita, which was a pretty huge patch in itself. So if history plays itself out again, we're going to be looking at potentially some kind of double whammy between 6.0 and 6.1, possibly having the next two upcoming characters basically be pretty huge. That's my prediction on that. Anyways, if you've watched this or listened to all this, just want to say thank you. You be safe out there. Deuces!